Right, well, good morning again. Thank you for your invitation this morning. It is really good to be here with you. I checked some notes and found out we were last here in 2018 in May. We left for Cambodia in October of that year. So you caught us and we caught you 4 or 5, 6 months before we took off. And probably that morning we talked about what we thought we would be doing when we got to Cambodia. And it's good to be coming back this morning and to tell you what actually happened, which the two realities didn't always match, the expectation and then what took place. But thank you for your invite. It is really good to be here with you. And if you've ever been to a country anything like Cambodia, you would know that every day there's always something going on. It might be something unexpected. It's something. Sometimes it's something confronting. Sometimes it's just the distractions that take place, and sometimes it's just the plain funny experiences that you have as you live in a culture that is not your own. And there was this one time that I remember well. We had been in Cambodia probably only for a couple of months, and our two girls, both with long hair, were dealing with head lice. And Rachel had several goes at trying to deal with this, and it had never gone away completely. So the day came, I had to go down to the pharmacy to get some more shampoo to try to get rid of this head lice. And I walk in the door of the pharmacy and couldn't speak barely any Khmer at this stage. So I said in English, asked the young lady at the front, can you please show me where the head lice shampoo is? And she takes me down the third aisle and points to where it is. And I realise I'm not looking at the head lice shampoo, but I'm looking at the hair loss shampoo. And these things that happen all the time, sometimes it's the language, sometimes it's the misunderstandings, but there's a real joy in that, as well as over time we found ways and opportunities to certainly attempt to be a part of Khmer culture, but also to share some of ours with the Khmer people that we know. And there's this wonderful and this beautiful exchange that takes place as you get to know people. And it's been a real privilege to do that and to be a part of it. All of those things, though, the funny experiences aren't the reason we went, of course. We went for quite a specific reason, and that was believing that God had placed this call upon us and upon our family to be in Cambodia, to be in that country and to seek to be people who were able to reveal Jesus to the Khmer people. Not to bring him with us, but to reveal Jesus who already was there and is there. So to present Jesus, to reveal Jesus, and to seek to demonstrate and invite Khmer people into the kingdom of God. We do that as a part of the Global Interaction team in Cambodia. Some of them you know, Rob and Deb, Catherine Rogers too. This is a photo taken just a few days before we came back to Australia at the start of June. This was actually the first time our team had all been all together in person since, or ever actually. Combination of home assignments, new team members, COVID keeping the team apart. We'd never actually all been in one place at the same time. So that was a special couple of days that we took together prior to our return. But we're a part of the team there seeking to do those things together, to see Jesus made known in Cambodia to its Khmer people. Hasn't been easy. COVID has disrupted that in a whole host of different ways. Certainly for us and for our plans, but much more importantly for the Khmer people themselves. And COVID it's affected Cambodia in two waves. The first one was the economic reality of what took place as all the tourists left the country. A lot of industry shut down and just couldn't be supported, and people's lives were disrupted through loss of employment. Often families were split as typically the men would leave town to go and work in the province out in the land somewhere to earn money for their family. And the second impact was COVID itself. COVID was kept out for about the first 12 months of the pandemic, and then it was only from about February or March this year that it really got into the country and now has swept right through. So that's the hard part of the last couple of years, of course, but even in God's way of doing things, even amongst all of that, there's been opportunities because of what was happening to sit with people and to be with people, and as best we're able, which feels inadequate a whole lot of the time, to be a part of their lives as they're grappling with what was happening to them and their families in their country. So we're there for those reasons. As we say, we haven't yet updated the logos and the name, by the way, so today we're still global interaction. But, this is our purpose, vibrant faith communities following Jesus in their own distinctive ways. This is what we seek to see happen, and we work to do and pray for God to bring about. And that simply means to see Khmer people meeting together and reading scriptures, praying together, learning what it means to follow Jesus within their own cultural frameworks. That's why we're there. And the exciting thing is that after almost 3 years in the country, we're hoping and we're praying that we might see one of these faith communities emerge during our second term. Some of the people we'll introduce you to shortly have expressed some interest in the Christian faith, the person of Jesus. So we have opportunities that we're looking forward to returning to. And that really is our main goal when we do return, that by God's grace and the movement of his Spirit, we would see some people starting to meet together simply to learn more of and know more of who Jesus is. We want to speak this morning just to frame the stories we're going to tell around a few short verses from Luke chapter 10. This is a part of a much bigger passage, Jesus' sending of the 72. So not his first 12 disciples, but kind of the next cohort who get launched out into mission. And Jesus gives them a whole bunch of instructions as he sends them on their way. And just one part of what he says is these few verses where Jesus says, when you first enter a house, say peace to this house. If someone who promotes peace is there, your peace will rest on them. If not, it will return to you. Stay there, eating and drinking whatever they give you, for the worker deserves his wages. Do not move around from house to house. When you enter a town and are welcomed, eat what is offered to you. Heal the sick who are there and tell them the kingdom of God has come near to you. So we've chosen this passage because we want to tell you the stories of some of our Khmer friends, the people we refer to with each other and with you as our people of peace. We're going to introduce you to them this morning and just ask that you would be praying for them as well. But people of peace, if you're not familiar with the term, it's what we call or name the people who display some sort of openness, perhaps initially to us, but ultimately some sort of openness to Jesus and the good news of the gospel. So people of peace are those who invite us in to walk on their turf, to be a part of their families, their community, their culture. People who, as we are, outsiders to them, people who invite us in to be with them and show that openness. They're our people of peace. So we want to introduce you to some of them this morning and tell you a little bit as well of some of what we've learned from them. So the first story we'd love to tell is that of Sarah and her family. Sarah is the young girl up in the top left photo she's got the brightly coloured shirt on. She's 16 now and 13 when we first met her and her family. And one of the things we've learnt in Cambodia, seeking to engage people missionally, is the value of taking a risk. And Sarah and her family live about 200 metres down the road from our house. We live on the outskirts of Siem Reap. It's only about 5 kilometres out of the middle of town, but it's far enough out that it's quite a different context to even if you just were to go a kilometre or two closer back into town. It's much more a village life rather than suburban life. So we met Sarah and her family. Initially, when we noticed soon after we moved into our home, they opened a small shop at the front of their home. It's a very common thing that Khmer people do as a source of income. So their family opened this shop. We just started to stop by every now and then, buy a few drinks and say hello. And I was riding my motor home one Friday afternoon, and this thing of taking a step or taking a risk was in mind. So I decided when I stopped past to buy the drinks this particular afternoon, I would not just buy them and go again. Basically this time I just invited myself to sit down with them. And in a classic Khmer way, they cleared the table, gave me the best seat they had, and allowed me to sit with them just for 10 minutes or so and try as best I could to use a little bit of Khmer language and speak to them. So it was a little bit of a step, but to our surprise, and Rach started getting involved as well, walking past, saying hello, continually from that point on getting invited in, just to sit and to talk and to share together. After doing that for a little while, I found out that Sarah was learning English at school, and she's doing pretty well with it, but they were looking for some extra tuition, knowing that if she was able to become competent as an English speaker, that would make her employable down the track, and that would be a wonderful advantage for her family just in the job she would be able to get. So I figured speaking English was something I could do, and just offered to start meeting with her at that table. You can see just once a week, do a basic English lesson for an hour. Once a week turned into twice, and that's been great to see her become more competent and confident with her language ability. And even greater than that was the chance I had often after those lessons being invited by her father and her uncles. This is a large family unit, multiple generations. Just invited to sit with the men of the family and start to talk with them and share with them, understand their life, share a bit of our own. And wonderful opportunities have come from that. And I hope there are there any Khmer speakers here this morning? So I may be about to make a mess of the language, but there was this one time in the lead up to Christmas one year, and one of Sarah's uncles asked me about what Christmas was about in Australia. And in the best Khmer I could use, I said something along the lines of, "Now Australia, Bon Noel Kujia Ambi Belna Preyesu Bangout Now Knong Di Poblo, Awi Sankru Di Poblo," which means, if I got it right, we celebrate Christmas in Australia because it's about remembering and celebrating that Jesus was born into the world so that he could save the world. So time's gone on, these opportunities have deepened, we've been able to share some things. We're looking very forward to going back and continuing our friendship and our relationship. And as we said, we'd love you to be praying for Sarah and her family too. We believe they're people of peace, they're open to us, they've invited us in. We see God at work, and we're looking forward to some even greater things when we go back. So Rachel's going to share a couple stories too.
Hey, as Luke mentioned earlier, living in another culture, every day there are small things, experiences that seem a little bit unusual, they're unexpected, they might be a little bit hard, or a little bit uncomfortable. So especially when we look at them through our Western point of view. Some of the things that we've experienced are being asked how old we are. That's a fairly common question when you meet someone. How much rent you pay? It's been interesting to work out how to carry a week's worth of groceries home on the back of your moto. And we always have a good laugh at seeing what Khmer people carry home on their motos. Lots of people and lots of strange things. But it's not only us who think things are strange. Many of the things that we do as outsiders to the Cambodian culture seem really unusual to Khmer people. For example, we live more of our lives inside our homes. We cook inside, and we spend a lot of our spare time inside as well. And we wear short sleeves when it's hot, which in Cambodia is always, whereas Khmer people tend to wear longer sleeves. Another thing that we do that seems strange to Khmer people is to walk our dog, and our dog's name is Aussie. Now, Cambodian dogs are fairly well free to go wherever they want to go. So it's probably pretty strange for Khmer people to see us taking our white, fluffy, very un-Cambodian dog for a walk on a leash. Very strange indeed. Now, in Cambodia, we've spent a lot of time over the past 3 years learning the Khmer language and culture so that we can share Jesus in appropriate ways. And we have learnt and are still learning how to speak, how to act, and even more, how to think about what is happening and interpret what is happening around us. So we have immersed ourselves as much as possible into Khmer culture, but often it is something that is different between us and Khmer people that has brought about opportunities to share with them. So I met one lady in our neighbourhood while out walking Aussie. And we'd said hello a few times in Khmer, and it didn't take long for her to say to me, "Som ma ongoi lang," which is a phrase that I just love in Khmer. It basically means come, sit, and laugh. Come, sit, and play. And it's a phrase that is always used to invite people to come, sit, and chat. Now, when Khmer people meet together, they rarely use each other's names. They don't say, "Hi, Rachel." Instead, they'll use a term that's based on the gender of the person, the age of the person, and the relationship that you have. So when I meet my friend, we greet each other by saying, "Hello, sister." But in our family, we affectionately know her as Frog Lady. So this is Frog Lady. You can see behind me. And she's known as Frog Lady because she raises frogs, fish, ducks, chickens, quails, and even snails that she sells to people who then sell on at the local markets. But she started with frogs. She is very generous, and usually I end up returning home with something that she has given me. Now, it is usually food, but one day I found myself walking home with one very excited dog and a fishing net that had 2 live quails tied into it that she had given to me as pets for Michaela and Talia. Didn't have a cage at home, so I didn't really know what I was going to do with them when I got home, but she was very generous. Now, some of my favourite times with Frog Lady have been when she has already had visitors, but that did never stop her from inviting me in to join with them. Now, when Khmer people talk, they talk really, really fast, so sometimes I wouldn't be able to understand the whole conversation that was happening, but it was just so lovely that she took time to stop and interpret the Khmer that they were using into Khmer that I could understand. So please be praying for Frog Lady and her family, that they allow us to continue to share life together and that we may have opportunities to share Jesus with them. Another family that we have got to know really well is our first landlords. Now, it took us about 6 months to find a place that we could call home. But when we did, we ended up getting really great landlords. They went out of their way to make sure we were happy and to solve any problems we had with the house, which was really, really great, especially when our roof started leaking in wet season and our water pump stops working. And that's not really typical behaviour in Khmer culture. Usually once you've signed a rental agreement, you become responsible for anything to do with the property. Now, when COVID hit, Lee, who worked at the airport, lost his job, and our landlords needed to sell the house. And this meant that although we were able to stay in the house, we were not able to connect with his family as often as we had hoped. Like many Cambodian people, they had to find alternative employment. And earlier this year, we found that they were living above a small shop that they were running. That meant we were able to reconnect with them, and we could drop by the shop, stop, buy a drink, and have a chat with them. As our relationship grew, they shared with us that they had heard a little bit about Jesus through a family connection a few years ago, and that they wanted to share more. And we had dinner with them just before we left Cambodia. And while we sat and talked, we talked about all the things that we would be able to do when we returned to Cambodia. We talked of going on outings together, something that we hadn't been able to do during COVID times. We talked about cooking together so that my friend can learn to make biscuits that she can sell at their little coffee shop. And we talked of meeting with them often to share more of who Jesus is. Please be praying for this family as we grow with them, and pray that their interest in Jesus might be just the beginning of a Khmer faith community.
Right, one last story we'd like to share is that of Simon and his family. You know, an approach we were strongly encouraged to take when we got to Cambodia was, as soon as we were able, was to find our way into what we call a community of practice and to become a part of that. And a community of practice it's a group of local people who meet together regularly for their own purpose and their own reason. So it's about finding a group like that and then joining in. And that means that the group meets and it does what it does, whether we're there or not. So it's completely independent of us. I didn't intend it this way, but my community of practice has ended up being a small Buddhist temple in Siem Reap. And I started to attend there just out of an interest in Buddhism and just to try to get an understanding of what it is, what it means, what it involves. So I'd turn up once a week and just observe what was happening, and I might have sat and read a book quietly off to the side and that sort of thing. And it turns out at this temple in town, there was a bunch of men who worked there as musicians. And after being there every week for I don't know how many months, quite a long time, just some doorways started to open, and with Simon in particular. And I was sitting there reading my book one day, and musicians were on a break. Simon's one of them. And I saw him kind of beckoning me over for a chat. So I wandered over and we had a chat, and that just started what's become a really great friendship that we've been able to enjoy together. It spread out from me knowing him to us meeting his family and then his extended family. Turns out his mother lived only a few streets away from us. We've been invited to a few of their family gatherings. So attendance at this temple, something's come from it that was never intended, but it's been a wonderful thing. And our relationship's grown and it's deepened. I would say Simon is a man of faith. He's not yet a follower of Jesus, but we found some common ground, but also some contrasting ground just to have our conversations about and to share in. One conversation I was able to have with him a little while before we came back here was just about, at the end of a Buddhist prayer, the word that is used is satuk, and in a Christian prayer, of course, we use the word amen. So we're just able to share what those words mean. It turns out their meaning is quite different. We're able to understand and explain a bit of each other's beliefs and values and convictions just through that kind of exchange. So there have been small opportunities, those faith opportunities, and perhaps a long way in between, but we sense that God's doing something there as well. Very hopeful that Simon's told me his kids are keen to learn English. I don't know if that means they actually are or if he just wants them to, but I'll hopefully discover that when we go back. It would seem opportunities to spend time with his family as I have been able to, and Rach has been able to with Sarah and her family down the road. That's part of the picture of what is ahead for me, we're thinking, is to find more opportunities in family contexts, just to be getting alongside and teaching English to people. Very important when it comes to faith sharing, to be doing that within family contexts if that's possible. So that's a bit of the future for me. For Rach, we haven't got too much time to talk about this morning, but Rach has been working, she's a speech pathologist, working in the disability field in Siem Reap, which is very, very under-resourced, training other therapists basically to provide therapy to those children in Siem Reap who have various disability and often with autism, which is quite a new diagnosis. So Rach is working in that space, developing plans to begin a platform, to develop a space that invites families who have children with disabilities into to meet together, be a support community, and just provide some basic resourcing and equipping for those families, but doing that in a context of a disability support community. So that will be a new step for Rach too. We looking forward to getting stuck into that when we return. We tell all of these stories though, not because it often feels like we share at churches and we talk about all the things we've done, but the emphasis we want to make this morning is to say, of course, not look at what we have done, but look and see what God is doing in Cambodia. And our stories are small. There are many, many other stories we could tell of our team, other organisations and people in Cambodia too. It's very much a bigger picture than what we've been able to say today. But again, we'd love you to be praying, certainly for us. Thank you for your prayers. We've certainly needed them over the last couple of years, particularly as COVID got a hold and life started to get tough. We value those prayers and we've known them well. And again, we'd love you to be praying for the people we've introduced you to this morning. Just a couple of things in closing, just to mention partnership briefly. There's some opportunities, just a shot or two of Rach in her therapy and some teaching I was doing. But in terms of partnership, again, thank you for what you have done and what you are doing. This morning, if you don't already receive our newsletters, you might like to sign up to receive those. We try to put those out every 2 weeks. There's some sign-up sheets, every 2 months. That would be far too often. There's some sign-up sheets, I think, out in the foyer. Yep, in the foyer, and you can also grab one of our supporter cards that has contact details on too. So newsletters is one thing. For our next term, we are hoping to go back in January at some stage that month. We're looking to develop a prayer team, which is a group of people who have a particular passion for prayer and who are committed to praying for us, for the people we're getting to know, but a smaller group of people that we can be sending, I guess, more specific and more personal prayer needs to that we can't put in our newsletters, which go far and wide. So if you're a person of prayer and you'd like to consider that, we'd love to hear from you. Financially, Mark mentioned that some support for us is in your draft budget papers, which sounds like is getting looked at next week in your members' meeting. So we thank you for your consideration for that too. We're getting close to being able to book our return flights. We're just a little bit short on the financial side of things before we can do that, but we are getting close. So we thank you for your consideration in that as well. If you'd like to follow up on any or all of those things, feel free to write your name, your email address on the forms out in the foyer, grab a supporter card, be in touch. We'd love to catch up with you if you'd like to do that too. So thank you for having us with you this morning. Our prayers and our blessings go to all of you too, as you engage in life and community and mission in your own ways, just as we seek to do in Cambodia. So thank you very much.